about you is that you have ambition to be great. My job is to coach you to get all that greatness out of you.
What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for yet another one. It is Thursday evening. It is the NBA draft for some of y'all. So hey, put me on in the background and let her rip, I guess, you know. I hope everyone's had a fantastic week thus far. We are one day away from Friday. Quick programming note: I'm gonna be live either tomorrow, Saturday, or Sunday, one of those 3 days. And actually, it's probably not gonna be Saturday, so it's gonna be either tomorrow or Sunday. I'm gonna be live, and I'm gonna have the Rowan McKinley. We're gonna go over Rowan McKinley prospect preview. I'm going to look at top 5 players who have pressure on them to perform in 2020 for the Miami Dolphins. We're gonna look at those two things, and also, for the first time in weeks, it seems, I'm going to open up the show to you guys and let you guys come on for a little bit. So after we do the Rowan McKinley stuff, after we do the top 5 list, I'm going to open it up. So yeah, we're going to do Rowan McKinley and basically the top 5 Dolphin players who are under pressure to perform in 2022. So we're going to do those two things. A couple notes, news items that I've already allocated to that show as well. And then I'm going to open it up to you guys. So that show is either going to be tomorrow night or it's going to be Sunday. I haven't decided which one yet, but it's going to be one of those two. All right. So we're starting to get into like content time now. So and not like news driven content. So got a whole bunch of show ideas lined up. We got a whole bunch of little prospect previews and the film studies we're going to get into. I want to do that film study Tyreek, which is going to be next. I'm going to do that next week. So we're going to look at Tyreek Hill next week on Finside the NFL, all 22. Break down a whole bunch of his game and see how he fits. I also want to obviously do a prospect preview of Zaquande White. I want to take a look at Jalen Waddle's rookie season. And I also, because I have access to the Shanahan McDaniel Atlanta playbook, as well as a lot of their current San Francisco playbook, I want to take a look at stuff they did in those offenses with all 22 and by showing you guys the exact play calls, et cetera, the details of the plays, and then see and then show you this is some of the stuff we're probably going to be seeing in Miami. So we're going to take a look at what the offense could potentially look at. I do want to do a Kellen Diesch one if we have time, prospect preview. And then I got a whole bunch of, we're going to do a whole bunch of specific show ideas coming up in that time as well that are away from film studies. So a lot of content coming up right now, man. So be out on the lookout for that. And it all basically starts on the next show when we look at Rowan McKinley prospect preview, as well as the top 5 Dolphin players who are under the most pressure to perform in 2022. All right. And you like that, Vicken, eh? I just want to say this quickly too. I got the new cap. You can basically, like, I'm going to tell you this. I can't show you, obviously, because they're over there. But I've got about, let me do a quick count. I've got about 14 Dolphin hats lined up over there. Okay, a row of 7 and a row of 7. And then I got this one. So 15. I got 15 Dolphin hats lined up here. I can literally only wear 4 of them because of a green screen. Like, guys, being a fan of a team whose main colors are aqua and orange when you're rocking green screens ain't the best option in the world. So if you guys know, I have the orange hat with the 90s logo on it. Well, I just got a all orange version with the new logo on it as well. Obviously, I got this throwback, and I got a couple other hats. I'm literally going to be buying a couple hats every month for the next couple months to stack up a collection so I can have options when I go live, because black don't even work well with the lighting that I currently have. So literally I need white, orange, or all solid colors that are not aqua. So man, the life of a Dolphins YouTuber, I tell you guys, Jesus, never would have thought that I'd be having to rebuy basically almost a hat collection. But here we are. It's ridiculous. So, anyways, I actually have really good lighting. I'm waiting for another light to come in. So, and I've been waiting for a couple weeks for that light to come in, and that should basically complete everything. But all aqua hats do not work, no matter I got Dolphin jerseys I won't even be able, Dolphin jerseys I won't even be able to wear during the season because they're all aqua. I'm gonna be basically pigeonholed to like white Dolphin jerseys. I got the orange Jarvis Landry color rush. I'm probably gonna buy the all orange Zach Thomas, but I'm gonna be basically pigeonholed to like white and orange. So is what it is. We got a lot to go over today. Again, another GM, ex GM, NFL GM came out and had some pretty good things to say about Tua Tagovailoa. We know what Spielman, the former GM of Minnesota, said about Tua and the Dolphins, and him basically saying what me and EM have talked about, that this could be this year's Bengals. But a new GM went a step further and started basically talking about the similarities between Tua Tagovailoa and Tom Brady early on. Perfect cue. No Mustang over here, brother. I'm actually not a fan of Fords. So I'm, quick side note, one of my dream cars is actually an NSX. I'm more of like an Acura guy, right? Like we drive an Acura RDX. I have a Honda Civic Sport SI. Honda Accord SI. Honda Accord Sport. Wow. And I'm actually looking to upgrade. I'm probably going to get an Acura next year. So I'm an Acura Honda guy. I'm not a domestic guy. I'm more of a import. So don't hate me. Don't hate me, because I know a lot of Americans take their Chevys and their Fords real seriously. Not this guy. Not this guy at all. So I see Yams in the comment. What's good? Speak of the devil and he may appear, huh? What's up, buddy? Barney, I have had 4 Honda Preludes. My wife had a Honda Prelude when I met her. Honda Prelude was actually one of my favorite cars, but I like the mid 90s one. And then, my sister drove like a CRX when she was young, but my first like banging car was I had a souped out 94 Acura Integra. It was literally Dolphins orange with white low profile rims, tinted magnaphone exhaust, upgraded engine. I'll put a whole bunch of work into that thing, slammed to the ground. And then I had my Dolphins dice that would sit on my, that would obviously hang over my rear view mirror, because the orange and the green went perfectly with basically everyone called it the creamsicle orange Integra. So yeah. So when I see people driving around in Dolphin themed cars, hey, I may not have slapped logos on it, but I went as far as that orange. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Yeah, but huge import guy, not a domestic guy when it comes to cars. Anyways, I don't even know how we got into that, but we got into it. Let's pivot back for a second. Enough about me. Back to the football here. So yeah, some GMs have been saying some interesting things about the Dolphins. It goes back to what I said last year with Brian Flores. And hey, it might not be fair for McDaniel because he's a year one coach, but this is the roster you assumed. This is the roster you took on. And the expectations seem to already be real. It seems to be real out here that, when you got one ex-GM, Spielman, saying, hey, we could be this year's Cincinnati Bengals, which me and EM have been saying. And then you go, and now you're going to hear. And what's crazy is when we go over this, made a lot of good points. And what's crazy is this is a conversation me and EM have had about Tom Brady early on in his career. And in fact, we had it on this show recently. The fact of the matter is, guess what? Tom Brady didn't start putting up gaudy numbers until Randy Moss arrived. And it's kind of crazy. I went back and I looked at their first couple of years of Pro Football Reference. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into all that. But it's actually kind of crazy. Like the expectations are realer than last year, it feels almost. And yet it's a new coach, new coaching staff, a new offensive line, a new scheme, and the expectations are real right now. Now, I think if we don't live up to them, does that mean McDaniel will get fired? No, they will not fire a coach in year one because that will be very bad optics throughout the NFL. But if we don't live up to expectations in year one, Boyer going to get his ass replaced if the defense don't live up to it. There's going to be personnel moves. Byron Jones is going to be out the door either way. They'll probably find, if the offensive line struggles, they'll probably finally move off of Austin Jackson, and they'll probably throw Eichenberg to the gutter and say, hey, we can't make it work with these guys. Like there will be, and obviously Tua will probably be moved off of if he doesn't perform up to par as well. So, man, because of the expectations are here and because of the roster, Mike McDaniel, the first-time coach, assumed the expectations are real. And if those expectations aren't met, there are going to be consequences once more this year. It is freaking inevitable. And that's the one thing that keeps playing over my head. The more I hear people hype us up or whatever, listen, am I buying into do I think we can be the 2021 Bengals? Sure, we got the roster, but am I sitting here wagering bets on it and wagering my life on that happening? No, because there's 31 other teams in the NFL, right? But possibilities are possibilities. So it's going to be, man, and that's why I think it's going to be real key when I do that next show, when we look over Rowan McKinley, but also the top 5 players who are under the most pressure to perform. Who is it once we get outside of Tua and Austin Jackson? Because there are some people on this roster, when you look at them, you're like, man, the pressure's there for you to perform, for you to make the team around you better. So it's going to be interesting to take a look at that. It really is. Personally, though, I haven't set in a record prediction yet, and I won't until after training camp when we have an idea of what the final 53 man is. That's what I do every year. We'll have our preview show where I have a whole bunch of people on, where I put up the nice little pretty graphics and show everyone, we go game by game through the schedule and all of us predict. So we'll do that. But man, on paper, you look at this and this thing screams 12 to 14 wins. But then you pause and you hold yourself and you're like, but a new coaching staff, see, I still think, I know we've heard stuff early on with the offense. I think this offense is going to have its ish together when they show up to training camp. I still think we're going to come out of the gates roaring this year offensively because, let's be honest, iron sharpens iron, and our defense, they're going to season this offense real quick in training camp, right? You know what? I want them to beat the offense up early on. You know why? Because I want that fire in the offense's ass to get lit so they get their shit together quicker than expected. And the only way that's going to happen is if you keep beating them down, right? It's like a Super Saiyan. I want to level you up from Saiyan to Super Saiyan. Well, I keep kicking your ass until those cells, they start going off and you get that tingly in the back of your neck and you start evolving, right? So we need to go Super Saiyan 4 up in this hoe. So we going in the time chamber and we going to put in that work. All right, so let's get into this. Let's start off with what the former GM had to say regarding and it was actually an article today by the returning, he's been absent recently, Barry Jackson. And this is what he said. He said, former NFL executives offer insight on Miami Dolphins and their personnel. Barry putting in the work. Some thoughts on the state of the Miami Dolphins from a few former top executives with their teams. Former Tampa Bay general manager Mark Dominic said at the very least, they're fringe playoff contenders. I would think so, he told me on a Sirius XM conference call. The reason I think they can possibly get there is, can they beat New England and the Jets 4 times combined? Yes. This is why I believe, baby. If this team goes, This team needs to go 5-1 in that division. It is a realistic possibility we go 5-1. It is a realistic possibility. It is a realistic possibility. Anyways, if you look at picking up a couple more wins, if you look at the other divisions, they will beat each other up pretty hard. With the loaded AFC West, a perfect example of that. Can we get into that wild card? I think they're a fringe playoff team based on how Tua Tagovailoa plays because their schedule will allow that. Remember I said when we looked at the schedule early on, that middle portion of that schedule after the first 4 games, that's when we got to start making our noise. We got a real strong middle portion of that schedule where we can rile off some wins here. Some other observations from Dominic. They want a 3-headed monster running back. I think Raheem Mostert has a chance to be the best of the group. Again, it all comes down to health, right? Myles Gaskin has always been kind of fascinating to me. When they gave the ball to Myles 15, 20 times or more, they had pretty good production. There's something that bothers them a little bit about Gaskin, though. I'll tell you right now what it is. He doesn't have very good vision. That's what your issue with Myles Gaskin is. And he doesn't offer you a ton after contact, right? This is a guy who needs holes opened up for him. He's not going to make himself skinny and fit through holes. That's just not Gaskin's game. He needs holes opened up so he can see them, running lanes provided, and then he can make it work. But if you're not going to, and then the problem is, even if you do give him those running lanes, he's not very strong after contact. And then Barry adds here, if the Dolphins were confident in Gaskin, they wouldn't have signed Sonny Michel on top of Chase Edmonds and Mostert. I agree. And the way they're talking about Zaquandre White and the way Salvin Ahmed's been the only one making plays when the media is there, Gaskin better be watching his ass. Taron Armstead, Connor Williams, that O-line room is now pretty stacked. I mean, pretty stacked. Connor Williams is out of position. Taron Armstead hasn't even practiced yet. I mean, we're going to use the words pretty stacked because Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson are still starting on the offensive line. I don't think any stacked offensive line in the NFL would have Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson on it. I mean, that's not even just my 2 cents. That's what logic would tell you. Austin Jackson is out there competing on the right side. If Jackson and Solomon McKinley are your backups, you're feeling great, but they're not. Robert Jones one is. Austin Jackson isn't. And this is what I said. Remember what I said all offseason? If we only have one guy we got to worry about, whether it's Eichenberg or Jackson, and that makes Dieter a backup, and that makes either the loser of Eichenberg and Jackson and their competition a backup, I would be feeling a lot better. The problem is we're relying on two of these guys. All right. Robert Jones makes a team, and that's a really deep offensive line, which is impressive. Again, depth is an issue. What are we talking about? You're talking about Solomon McKinley, unproven at the NFL level. Austin Jackson, unproven at the NFL level. Robert Jones, unproven at the NFL level. Eichenberg, unproven at the NFL level. Larnell Coleman, unproven at the NFL level. Greg Little, what we've seen, ain't good at what he's proven at the NFL level. Dieter, unproven at the NFL level. Where's the impressive depth? Am I missing something? Did I forget my brain upstairs when I came downstairs to record? Am I missing something? So whoever that GM is, there's no wonder why you don't have a job. Dominic. Tampa Bay, Mark Dominic. There's clearly no wonder you don't have a job. That's your assessment. I wouldn't be keeping you on. Jesus. All right. Continuing on here. Former Chiefs general manager Scott Pioli, now an NFL Network analyst, they had a solid core of players before, a good enough team to beat the Patriots. They also added a head coach who's really going to make a difference. See, that's the thing. If McDaniel hits the ground running, right, then we're good. Then I ain't worried. Even if Tua struggles a little bit early on, I ain't worried if McDaniel hits the ground running because that means our running game will be clicking. And if our running game's clicking, I don't see Tua struggling anyways. The fact of the unknown, and they're going to be coached, and what they're going to do is going to be a bit of a factor. The new players all fit the system, scheme, and culture that Mike McDaniel wants, the type of team he wants, the team that's going to give the Bills a real run. I'm telling you, baby, I can feel it in my fingers. I can feel it in my toes. We will at least split with the Bills this year. I'm telling you, we coming out of nowhere. We are coming out of nowhere. I'm telling you right now, Josh Allen, he's out here joking about Tom Brady's golf game, and he's out here loving life. Watch yourself, Josh. Unless I see you walk into the field with that visor you wear every offseason, you don't put the fear of God into me. Now, if you walk out there with that visor, then I'm like, this guy means business. And remember, again, one of the few in this community that called his leap the year they got Stephon Diggs when people were calling me a freaking closet Bills fan. No, I hate the Bills more than, when I talk about professional sports teams I despise, like literally, man. Yeah, the Bills and the Philadelphia Flyers are 1-2. I absolutely despise those. I think their fans are pieces of trash. I think they're pieces of trash. I think they're a bunch of Rudy Pooty candy asses, and I got no love for any of those fans. Now, if you're a Flyers fan and you're a Dolphin fan like Steve, it's a different story. But for the majority, I think Flyers fans are scum. I think Bills fans are scum, and they're a bunch of nothing but. And you already know what I'm about to say because it's the word of this channel. They're nothing but a bunch of jabronis. So, anyways, we coming for that ass, Buffalo. All right? Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia. Wait till you see us put out the hit on you guys. And that hit's going to be led by Javon Holland and Xavier Howard. We're going to take you right out of your boots. I also like the players re-signed. One of the most underrated elements of free agency is the re-signing of your own good players, which, again, that's why I wasn't losing my mind early on. People were like, oh my God, they gotta make a move. And then Tyreek and Teron Armstead happened and that went real quiet. But if you go back, the receipts are there. I kept saying, be patient. They took care of their own. And I kept saying, what does that show the locker room when a new head coach comes in and says, hey, I've seen what you can do. Sure, I haven't coached you, but I know what you can do in the system. I know what you can do this for our organization. You deserve to be paid. I'm going to take care of you. Do you know how big that of a message that is in the locker room? That is huge. We went from last year, I was told veteran, and I reported this last year, so this ain't new news. Veterans were sitting there watching the Flores contract situation because they felt they didn't take care of veterans like that, and Flores and the organization got along better with younger guys who hadn't learned the business yet. And then we got a new guy come in, and it's a totally different ball game. Oh, you're a baller. Oh, you're one of the best. I'm not gonna sit here and penny pinch. Take care of this man. That is huge. That goes a long way with not only the fan base, but that locker room. Massive. So much attention is given to teams chasing something outside their own locker room that looks attractive. But no one should know your own players and that they're fit better than you. Pioli said Tua's arm strength will be just fine. First 5 years of Tom Brady's career, critics said over and over that he can't throw the deep ball. What happened? Randy Moss. It's all dink and dunk. Brady was deadly accurate. He was being told to make high percentage throws. That's what they did with Mac Jones. That's exactly what they did with Mac Jones in year one, was it not? Because that's what he could do best at the time. As he got older, he got stronger, right? Because you start getting used to the NFL training regime, what to expect in an NFL schedule so you can train for it, and how to prepare your body. Those are things, another thing you have to learn when you get to the NFL if you don't have it down yet. And Tua didn't have it down yet. And this is something him and Nick are working on perfecting. His body for an NFL season and to be an NFL quarterback. And me and EM have had private conversations about this. I brought this up. This came up on one of my recent shows where we said Tom Brady wasn't putting up gaudy, crazy numbers until Moss came. Remember, they were getting Corey Dillon, and they were making sure the run game was okay. They were making sure the run game was good. They lived off the defense and the run. That's it. So, and I'm going to come back to this right now. So, but let me take this out because I want to show you guys something first. So let's look at Tom Brady's first. I pulled out 3 years. All right. So let's look at Tom Brady's first 3 years. Okay. Let's look at what he did statistically. I just want to compare them for a sec for you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. So we'll zoom in for you guys here. All right. So you look at this. The guy had a 62, and let's round up, a 64 and a 62 completion percentage. All right. Remember, as a rookie, started 14 games, played in 15, 18-12. Right? He had a 4.4 touchdown percentage, but his interception percentage was 2.9 and 2.3 in his first 2 years. And again, average yards per attempt 6.4, yards per attempt 6.9. Then they went down in his second year to 6.3 and 6.1. Taking the sacks, getting hit. But look at his QB rating, 86.5, 85.7. Right? 3 game-winning drives, 3 fourth-quarter comebacks in year 1, 2 and 3 in those respective categories the year after. And then his sack percentage was 9% year 1 and 4.9%. So already we can see that Tua had better pocket presence just by looking at the stats. Sure, I can bring it up. But anyways, so, second year when he jumps up to 3,764 yards, huge. But that was also technically year 3 in the NFL. That actually wasn't year 2. That was technically year 3. Right? His touchdown percentage got bumped up a little bit. His interception percentage came down, right? But his yards per attempt and his his yards per attempt and his air yards per attempt both went down. Both went down. Again, what were they? Short to intermediate, pass the football. This is why I keep telling you guys about this efficiency. That's what he was. Right? So, now let's just quickly compare it over to Tua. Just quickly compare it over to Tua. And by no means am I saying this guy's going to be Tom Brady. So please don't hit me up with that. But I'm just going to show you guys. So here you go. All right. So look at this. Touchdown percentage, slightly lower, right? The other one was 4.4 in his first year was Tom Brady. Tua was 3.8. But look at the interception difference. 1.7 as a rookie to 2.9 with Brady as a rookie. But let's go over a little bit. The completion percentage. Remember, Brady was 63.9 as a rookie. Tua was 64.1. All right. You look at, again, let's go to yards per attempt and air yards per attempt. Right? The first year, Brady was 6.9 yards per attempt and 6.4 in air yards per attempt. Tua, 6.3 and 6.2. So air yards per attempt, very similar, right? The air yards is literally off by 0.2. All right. And now when you go into year 2, Tom Brady put up basically Tua's numbers in year 2, right? In year 2, we just went over it. Tom Brady, 6.3 yards per attempt and 6.1 air yards per attempt. Tua Tagovailoa in year 2 as a starting quarterback went up 6.8, 6.5. So crushing Brady in those, 0.5 difference in yards per attempt and a 0.3 difference in air yards per attempt. So a half a yard in yards per attempt, right? But the interception percentage is clearly what the difference here is. Now, it's not that big. In a second year as a starter, remember, year one as a starter, Brady had a 2.9 interception percentage. It went down to 2.3. Tua, 1.7, went up to 2.6, right? But his touchdown percentage went up to 4.1%. Now, Brady was at 4.7, so he's crushing him in touchdown percentage. He was 28-14, but he also played all 16 games, right? He started all 16 games. Tua started 12. So who knows how that would have went? But clearly Tua had an issue, with the football and protecting the football. Now, the one thing I do want to say too is the yards per game. As a rookie, Tom Brady averaged 189.5 yards per game. Tua, he averaged, as you can see here, 181.4. All right. Now, next year as a starter, remember, started at all 16 games, so 4 more games in Tua. And he averaged at 235.3 yards per game to Tom Brady to Tua's 204.1. So that's a big difference. That is a big, big difference. Now, where you really see something, though, is in the quarterback rating. All right. Year one, as you see there, Tua was at 87.1 passer rating. Year one as a starter for that homie, Tom Brady, 86.5. So, Tua a little bit higher, but, half a point, whatever. Year two, though, Tom Brady was 85.7 passer rating. Tua Tagovailoa was 90.1. So, again, big difference. And the other big difference, too, is Tua's taken 40 sacks. And we know the pressures. We know the pressure, right? He's taken 40 sacks, and we know the pressure numbers. In his first 2 years as a starter, Tom Brady took 72. And we know that offensive line was good, right? Protected Bledsoe. It was just a young quarterback learning the offensive line. So when you break down their numbers, you don't even, we can pull the film up on a future episode if people really want me to. But even the numbers tell you the similarity between the two of them. By the way, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Even the numbers tell you the similarity between the two of them early on, right? Short, intermediate passes, be accurate with the football, be efficient with the football. That's all we're going to ask you to do. Now, credit to New England, they gave him a run game. We haven't given Tua a run game till this year. So remember, Tom Brady also put up those numbers with a run game. Tua did not. Tua put up his numbers with himself, Jalen Waddle, and insert jabroni here. Okay? So, again, more cause for belief. That's all. That, hey, the evidence is there. The evidence is there, right? Because remember, Brady's second year as a starter was also his third year in the league, right? So he had a year to sit behind Drew Bledsoe. He had a year to sit behind and watch how Drew worked, who at the time was one of the best quarterbacks in football. Remember, he had taken the Patriots to the Super Bowl in the mid-90s. Drew Bledsoe was not a scrub. He was a very good, he was a very good quarterback. So, hey, by no means am I saying Tua is better than Tom Brady or Tua will be Tom Brady. But what I'm sitting here and saying is when you look at the similarities between the greatest quarterback of all time early on, to Tua Tagovailoa's early career, just from a statistical standpoint, eerily similar in a lot of those categories. Right? Eerily similar in categories. But again, the context of the situation, Brady had a lot more support than Tua Tagovailoa did. A lot more support. So it just gives us more hope and more faith of, oh my God, this is a year where Tua has support. What's he going to do? Just more evidence to show Tua should be expected to take a significant leap with this talent. So just more evidence. That's all. It's more evidence. But let's get back into that article there. And shout out to Scott Pioli. I mean, does he know what happened the last time a former Kansas City Chief talked really good about Tua Tagovailoa? Praying for you, Scott. Former Dolphins executive Mike Tannenbaum isn't a big fan of Tagovailoa, but loves what the Dolphins have done this offseason. On his website, the 33rd Team, he said the Dolphins, Bengals, and Raiders have the best offensive weapon groups in the NFL, but of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, Tua has more pressure on him than anyone, and Teddy Bridgewater is a very capable quarterback, Tannenbaum said. It's not unreasonable to think he could be playing sometime by midseason. Sooner than later, if Tua hits any bump in the road, given everything he has to work with. Obviously, Mike Tannenbaum hasn't been watching how Teddy Bridgewater has been doing in OTAs and minicamp, right? My concern is Tua was he was 23rd in the NFL last season in yards per pass attempt. And again, we just went over his yards per attempt. Remember, year 2 as a starter, he was a half yard higher on yards per attempt than Tom Brady was in his second year as a starter, and he averaged more air yards per attempt in his second year as a starter than Tom Brady did in his second year as a starter. But Tannenbaum's worried. He struggles to get the ball downfield consistently. Coach Mike McDaniel will probably try to move the pocket, cut the field in half, have a lot of plays with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek that are catch and runs that played to his strength and try to maximize to his ability that way. They're giving him everything a quarterback could want and then some. See, now that we looked over those Tua and Brady comparisons, now when you hear what Tannenbaum says, doesn't it just ring as ridiculous? And doesn't it just ring as, oh my God, Tom Brady didn't get that much slack, and he had so much more support in his first 2 years as a starter than Tua did. Former Falcons and Raiders executive Ken Herrock, who now prepares coaches for interviews and players for the NFL draft, told me they have enough to compete for a wild card. Tyreek Hill turns plays that are 7-8 yards for many players into 18-20 yard plays or to touchdowns. They improved the offensive line with the free agents. They have a good flashy little backs. They can make plays in a good splitting time. I'm not sure Tua is a quick reactor. Bro, quick decision making is one of Tua's strong points, but okay. If he doesn't get them the ball, it's time to replace Tua. They brought him the weapons. Let him produce. Those guys will make plays for them as long as they protect Tua. And that's the key thing right there. And this is what goes back to me is the offensive line. This offense, again, because of our lack of depth, because we didn't fully solidify it, we are in a position where we're only going to go as far as they take us. And Taron Armstead and Connor Williams, we need you to have the healthiest seasons of your career. It's a middle-of-the-pack defense. Ouch. Tell me you don't watch Miami Dolphins football without telling me you don't watch Miami Dolphins football. The defense isn't going to save them. Well, clearly he didn't watch last season or the year before. It's a good defense, but not one that can carry you. Again, clearly he didn't watch last season or the one before. And you're preparing coaches for interviews, and these are the things you're telling them? Oh, boy. Herrock acknowledged that a lot of the defensive success came against mediocre quarterbacks last season, which creates doubt in his mind about how good the group is. Okay, so that's his reasoning, but you know what? Your reasoning's crap because what were they the year before? Stop. I never thought I'd see someone shit on our defense harder than Tua Tagovailoa, but here we are. 2022 people. Personally, guys, no. That defense is legit. That defense can carry us. What are we talking about here? We're trying to find the offense that complements our defense. Let's relax. All right? Scott Pioli sounded like the only one that made a little sense there, okay? Although that idiot who was hating on our defense had that one good line about the offensive line. I got a couple more Tua-based things here. If you didn't see it, Robert Griffin III, he said Tua will make a big leap this year because the Miami Dolphins set him up for success better than any other young quarterback. Surrounded by playmakers like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson, and Mike Gesicki, improved protection, and a stable of running backs to show the NFL who he is. Now, the reason why I'm showing you guys this and the reason why I'm taking this with more than a grain of salt is because RG3's most success came under Shanahan, with Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel involved in that offense. He knows exactly the minds that are. I believe John Emery was on that team too. Was on that staff. So he knows exactly the minds that are about to cultivate our young quarterback and our offense. He knows exactly what they're getting into. And when RG3 says something like taking a big leap, and those are bold I mean, he said the Dolphins set him up for success more than any other young quarterback. I mean, I don't know. Justin Herbert's been put in a very, very good situation. That offensive line in Los Angeles is top 10. That offensive line, and what's crazy is when he came there, that offensive line was crap. And they've turned that thing around in 2 years into a top 10 offensive line. And you look at the weapons with the Eckler, with, they've even hit on guys like Guyton and Palmer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The Chargers have set Herbert up for a ton of success, man. But I do think the Dolphins have put in a lot of work, and I do think they have set Tua up for the most success he can have at the NFL level so far in his NFL career. So I do think they've done a damn fine job, but let's call spade a spade here. The Chargers and what the Chargers have done since they've drafted Herbert has been some masterful work. Let's call a spade here. All right. So, exactly, Bo. See that, Bo, you nailed it on the head. That's why we can gauge what Tua's floor is, right? Like Tua's floor has shown us, okay, he's a competent NFL starter, right? He's shown us he can produce with an incompetent staff, and aside from a few players, mainly incompetent personnel around him, that he can still put dubs on the board and do enough to win. Now it's time for him to show us what he can do with improved protection and a stable of weapons at his disposal, as well as a coaching staff that offensively is, quite frankly, one of the best in the NFL. I mean, I'll say it again. Said it before. I'll say it again. Darrell Bevell is an absolute godsend as a quarterback coach. This guy is an offensive coordinator anywhere else. And that leads us to our next little piece here. If you guys didn't see it, if you guys didn't hear about it, if you guys didn't know, Tua and Tyreek are out there still putting in the work. Tua got the zip. Look, he's making the throws outside the numbers that these people who I keep telling you, they have their jobs because they know where to put a period, not because they know football. Look at a perfect example of a big boy throw outside the numbers. On point, in stride, Tyreek Hill. So he knows how to throw Tyreek already. Look at, they're putting in that offseason work. He knows how to throw Tyreek in stride outside the numbers. That timing, they are working. So all these people saying, oh, he hasn't even played a game yet with Tua. Yeah, but look at, Tua is already getting his timing down, and this shows the work they put in together. So stop it. everything Tyreek has said comes from a place of knowledge. And he has way more ground to stand on talking about this situation than anyone else in the media or in the NFL for that damn case. Look at that. Right in stride, baby. Soon as he breaks. Look at that. Look at that. Little torque throw, laser. Look at that. Ball is coming out before he breaks. Look at breaking now. Ball's out. Look at that. Ball's already on its way to you when you're coming out of your break. Love that. Beautiful timing. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Love it. Absolutely love it. That's my quarterback and my receiver, baby. Let's go. Man, I'm a huge Tyreek Hill fan. I don't know. Like, I'll be the first one to admit, man. These last couple months since he's been a Dolphin, I've fallen in love with that guy as a person, and like already loved him as a player, but as a person, I love that guy, man. That guy, you don't see a lot of guys get the bag, go to a city like Miami, and show the kind of leadership he's shown. It's crazy. Tua will handle the scrutiny and pressure. The question is whether the rest of the Miami Dolphins can. You could have plenty of ammo to argue that no NFL player is under more scrutiny and pressure than Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa as the 2022 season inches closer. In fact, so many already have lined up to make that argument. It has nearly morphed into a self-fulfilling prophecy, something hardly even open to debate. A probing national spotlight sears hot on Tagovailoa, and that's that. Which is funny to me for two reasons. First, the very premise is silly. There are others on the Dolphins with more pressure on them. Just about everybody else, actually, which we'll dig into shortly. Second, if there is pressure on him beyond which media consensus has created, I can think of few players more ready for it and better steeled to deal with it. That is because Tua Tagovailoa's baptism into the NFL has been what feels like an unprecedented 2-year storm of doubts and disrespect. If what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, or whatever that promote is, Tua is Godzilla by now. His entire pro career has been one of undue scrutiny and pressure, not so much from his performance, but for factors beyond his control. An entire year twisting in the wind and embarrassed by his own team as Miami maneuvered in the shadows to try and to sign Deshaun Watson, which owner Stephen Ross was poised to do. All of Watson's accusers agreed to sign a non-disclosure. Recall Tagovailoa being asked amid the mess if he felt wanted. The long, awkward pause. Then he finally, I don't not feel wanted. With the comparisons to Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, another backdrop, there are also reports Ross was enamored of luring Tom Brady, even if it meant arranging a clandestine luncheon meeting on a yacht that might have violated NFL rules. Oh, and an intrepid local media sleuth reported Tagovailoa had not developed chemistry with his teammates, was too reserved, had shied away from the captaincy. So his psychological makeup was now in play too. All of the doubts that Tagovailoa have fomented because the Dolphins have spent 2 years weekly saying he's their guy, but behaving as if drafting him was a mistake that needs fixing, and that speculation continues still. Just this month, Mike Florio of Pro Football Focus speculated that Tampa Bay's Tom Brady or Baltimore's Lamar Jackson could end up in Miami in 2023. Warned y'all the Lamar stuff was happening back in February. Never said enough in Tagovailoa's defense was how hamstrung he was those first 2 seasons by an awful offensive line, a weak running game, and a scared game plan that largely because of that bad O-line had him getting rid of the ball quickly in a pop gun offense. Tua was sacked on only 20 of 408 pass attempts in 2021, the 8th lowest percentage of all QBs. That is because he was doing so many quick dump passes because Miami's play calling was so afraid of its own line to give Tagovailoa that crucial extra second in the pocket. Plainly, until this coming season, Miami's young QB has been handcuffed and barefoot of enough playmakers around him. We have not been able to judge him fairly yet, though judge him we have, and harshly. The fair judging starts in 2022. After a dynamic, huge spending all-in offseason with superstar Tyreek Hill and Cedric Wilson joining Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki in what is now a top-tier receivers room, with Chase Edmonds leading a beefed-up running back corps, with top free agent Terron Armstead fronting what should be a much better offensive line. Tua cannot help but be clearly better in year 3. It's all but a guarantee. The only question is how much, which is exactly what I've been telling you guys. There is pressure, sure, and in the sport, it always is disproportionately on the quarterback. But on the team, look around. The pressure pie chart has lots of slices beyond the QB. Ross begins his 14th season as an owner under the cloud of an NFL investigation over serious allegations by fired coach Brian Flores that Ross offered him bribe money to intentionally lose games in 2019. Chris Greer begins his 7th year as a general manager. The pressure starts at the top with the people running this franchise. Mike McDaniel has not been a head coach at any level before now, and the Dolphins were the only team to interview the former 49ers assistant for the top job. Is he ready? That's pressure. Same with new offensive coordinator Frank Smith, last an OC for a small college Butler Bulldogs in 2009. The improved offensive line must prove it is. Can Armstead stay healthy? Can 2020 first-round pick Austin Jackson show he isn't a bust? The running back room has an interesting quartet in Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel, and Myles Gaskin, but is there a bona fide starter there? While the offense is revamped, the defense returns largely intact, led by ascending stars such as Christian Wilkins, Javon Holland, and corners Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. But there is pressure with the defense too. The NFL website run by Mike Tannenbaum, the 33rd team, on Tuesday ranks Miami defensive front 7 in the 6th of 7 tiers. One described as a lack of top-end talent, especially in the pass rush category. That seems a bit harsh for Miami to me, but invites the pressure of something to prove. Finally, there's pressure on Tyreek Hill, not just on Tagovailoa to get him the ball. The one viral video that showed Hill catching a deep pass from Tua in practice, but appearing to slow down for a slightly underthrown ball. I don't think any video since his Zapruder film has been more widely scrutinized as the NFL world obsesses over Hill's speed and Tagovailoa's arm strength. Hill must make Tua better. It's part of his job. It's why they made him the NFL's highest paid receiver. Way back in the day, I recall once asking Mark Clayton how lucky he was to have had Dan Marino thrown to him. How lucky he was to have me, Clayton replied. Hill has a new podcast called It Need to Be Said, so this needs to be said. Hill must adopt Clayton's attitude and accept that's a big part of why he's here, to elevate Tua Tagovailoa. He was given a 4-year, $120 million contract to just do that. No pressure or anything. So I think that was a great article by Greg Cote, and it leads into what I say. Tomorrow, we're going to be going the top 5 Dolphin players who are under the most pressure to perform in 2021. That will be the next video. Again, it's either going to be tomorrow or Sunday. And in that same video, we're also going to look at Verone McKinley prospect preview and how he might take Eric Rowe's job. And I'm also going to open up the show to you guys and have you come on because I haven't done an open panel in quite some time. So that is either going to be tomorrow or Sunday. Be out on the lookout for that one. Okay, guys? Now, interesting news for all of you guys. Quickly here. Training camp dates have been announced, people. So we know when it's about to kick up into high gear. And we look right here, right? Let's right there. Miami Baptist Training Facility. The rookies will report on July 19th, and the veterans will report on the 26th of July. So there you go. Here we go, baby. Here we go. We are getting there. Oh man, I can't wait. I just need to be living some training camp life. Hey man, I don't need preseason football yet. I'll settle for training camp right now. Just please bring it. Right? Just please. Man. Whew. So that said, we are about 26 days away from them reporting to training camp, the rookies. All right. Next up here, guys. The Dolphins, remember, I've been saying these are don't worry about the OTAs and the mini camp. This is when issues about to get real, and they've announced the first set. Guys, the date set for the Dolphins joint practices with the Buccaneers. The Miami Dolphins pair of joint practices with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be held on August 10th and 11th in Tampa. The Buccaneers announced Thursday as part of the release of their training camp schedule. The Wednesday and Thursday dates for joint practices are standard in the NFL ahead of a Saturday preseason game, which is August 13th at Raymond James Stadium. Now, we have not announced the rest of the slate. Remember, we are going to be having joint practices with every team we play this year in the preseason. That's what McDaniel said. But these joint practices, they told us a lot about our offense last year and our defense, and they should do the same for us. You know, when people were panicking about minicamp and days open to the media, I kept telling you guys, the joint training camp specifically, the joint practices are what's going to tell us a lot. And here we go. So by August 10th, August 11th, but let's say this, by August 12th, we're going to start gaining a grasp of what we're dealing with here. Then August 13th will be the preseason game, which I will be live for. And then the rest of training camp, as well as the joint practices and the rest of the games, preseason games, it's going to snowball real quickly in August. So, you know, they report again on July 26th, but by August 10th, we're gonna start getting a gauge of what the 2022 Dolphins might really offer us this season. So important training camp dates, lock them down. All right, rookies, they report July 19th. Veterans, they report July 26th, and August 10th and 11th are the first joint practices of the Miami Dolphins training camp schedule, where they will be in Tampa Bay practicing against the Bucs. All right. Mark them down. Mark them down. Big dates, big days. All right. Next little piece of business we got here. Interesting article from Bleacher Report. Buy or sell NFL teams looking to end playoff drought in 2020. One of the best parts of the NFL is parity. No other league boasts playoff turnover the NFL sees each season. The only team to have won consecutive Super Bowls since 2000 was the 2003 and 2004 New England Patriots. We haven't seen a consecutive NFC East title winner since the Philadelphia Eagles won 4 straight crowns from 2001 to 2004. Every franchise has hit some sort of milestone over the course of the last 2 decades. One key injury can completely change a divisional or wild card race since the competition is so fierce and close. That doesn't mean there haven't been elongated stretches of futility, though. 8 teams will enter the 2020 season with a playoff drought of at least 4 seasons. Here, we'll buy or sell the playoff odds of the 5 teams with the longest droughts. So, playoff drought, 11 seasons for the Jets. They are selling. They said the last time the Jets were in the playoffs, Rex Ryan was the hottest name in the NFL. So the Jets have yet to reach the winning part of their rebuilding process. The next logical step is become an annoyingly feisty team to play as their youth develops. They'll have higher expectations and possibility of a playoff appearance in 2023 if Wilson becomes at least league average quarterback between then. They are buying into the Denver Broncos playoff hype since they added Russell Wilson. They haven't been in the playoffs for 6 seasons. They are not buying into the Detroit Lions hype, who have not been there in 5 seasons. They are buying into the Miami Dolphins hype of making the playoffs. And this is what they said, the playoff drought 5 seasons. It was quite the offseason of extremes for the Miami Dolphins. From firing head coach Brian Flores and having a plan in place to land both Sean Payton and Tom Brady, to trading for Tyreek Hill and signing Terron Armstead, the Dolphins swung as hard as they could to improve their roster. Now they're poised to make the playoffs in 2022, even if their grandest dreams didn't come true. New head coach Mike McDaniel should be able to build an efficient offense with quarterback Tua Tagovailoa under center. The Dolphins badly needed an injection of speed and blocking around Tagovailoa after seeing him struggle in 2021 with little help. They bolstered his supporting cast with the additions of Hill, Cedric Wilson, Armstead, and a bevy of tailbacks. One of the best decisions this offseason was to retain defensive coordinator Josh Boyer, who ran an effective defense over the last 2 seasons. Boyer already knows how to maximize a unit that returned all of its key personnel, so Miami shouldn't need extra time to install a new defensive scheme or to adjust to new faces. The Dolphins ranked 22nd last year in points, despite struggling to run the ball and protect the quarterback. Mike McDaniel has experience with Kyle Shanahan's run-based offense that utilizes misdirection for big plays. Tagovailoa is an accurate and mobile passer, and he should thrive in a scheme that gets the ball out quickly to speedy playmakers in space. The key for Miami is hurling the New England Patriots in the AFC East. The Dolphins won 9 games last season despite struggling on offense for stretches. They're more explosive than New England, but they must prove to be as consistent. If the Dolphins' offseason acquisitions are anywhere near as valuable as expected, they should be markedly better than the New England's high floor, low ceiling roster. Even though the AFC is loaded, they should be in the mix for the wild card berth. So, again, they're not taking away from the Dolphins beating New England last year. They're just saying that New England was more consistent last year, and the Dolphins need to be consistent this year. So it's something we've talked about Tua. We need consistency from Tua. I totally agree that, the Patriots, I mean, let's be honest, guys. There's no way last year. Sure, we might have been 2-0 against the Patriots, but we couldn't have hung in a game last year the way they did in that Buffalo Bills game where they didn't rely on Mac Jones at all because they had the running backs and they had the offensive line to rely on. We didn't, right? So, personally, personally, I just, I think it's easy. I think we're already past them. I think we're better than them. I'm not worried in the slightest. I think we're better than them, than the Patriots, and I think we're starting to catch up with the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are just more complete on the offensive line and more set on the offensive line than we are. And obviously, Josh Allen at this point is a much better quarterback than where Tua was at last year. The other team that they talked about was the New York Giants, and they don't believe the Giants will make the playoffs. But I'm with it. I think our playoff drought ends this year too. And you know what? By golly, I think we win a playoff game. I think we can win a playoff game. Call me crazy. Call me a homer. Former NFL quarterback David Carr put out his top 5 tight ends in the NFL. He had Darren Waller at 1. You guys all know I'm a huge Darren Waller stan, so I'll take it. But Travis Kelce's better than him right now. I'd put him at 2. He put George Kittle at 2, Travis Kelce at 3, Mark Andrews at 4, and Mike Gesicki at 5. Now, I hate to be that guy, but I think you can make a case that Dallas Goedert and even Kyle Pitts are better than Gesicki right now. I mean, Kyle Pitts put up over 1,000 yards as a rookie. Gesicki's never done that. Kyle Pitts is a better blocker, better route runner than Gesicki. Dallas Goedert, he had almost 1,000 yards last year. Way better blocker. Way better, in the more reliable as a pass blocker and a run blocker, better route runner. I think there's even cases to be made for guys like Dalton Schultz, and Zach Ertz still. I think that's where Gesicki finds himself in, more along the lines of a Dalton Schultz and a Zach Ertz right now than, I can't put him over, Kyle Pitts and Dallas Goedert. I even think Dalton Schultz is more complete right now. So we'll see. But hey, Gesicki, this is your chance. Like Tua and Austin Jackson have coaching staffs around them that should help them prop them up. My friend, you have John Embry. John Embry made Chris Cooley the best tight end in football for a stretch. I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I see so much Jordan Cameron in Mike Gesicki, and you go back and you look, what did John Embry do with Jordan Cameron? Jordan Cameron was one of the best tight ends in football under him. So as much as our offensive line, as much as our receivers, and as much as Tua have been put in a position to win with good coaches around them, so has Mike Gesicki. And so has Hunter Longford's development, to be quite frank. But Mike Gesicki has been has people around him to help him take the next step. So, you know, if we're ever going to see, if Mike Gesicki can't get 1,000 yards under John Embry, I don't know if he's going to get 1,000 yards, people. And then what sucks is he's probably going to price himself out of Miami if he does take that next step, because they're going to have a big decision between Christian Wilkins and Mike Gesicki. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. Very interesting to see how that goes. Finally here, guys, little update on Brian Flores. So the NFL is seeking arbitration for Flores' suit. The NFL and 6 of its teams have formally moved into New York court to force a lawsuit alleging that they engaged in racial discrimination into arbitration, where NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell would be the arbitrator. The league and the teams filed papers late Tuesday with a judge presiding over a lawsuit filed by Brian Flores after he was fired in January as a head coach for the Dolphins. The NFL said employment agreements with teams signed by Flores and other coaches contain provisions that require the arbitration of all disputes. Flores now works as an assistant coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He alleged in his lawsuit that has since been joined by 2 other black coaches that the league engages in racist hiring practices despite its claims to the contrary. Yeah, but I mean, are we going to talk about how you disrespected an African-American coach in Lovie Smith when he was given the opportunity you are saying other African-American coaches aren't given? An African-American coach gets that opportunity that you say you are not given, Brian Flores, and you do a backhanded compliment. You should have congratulated the shit out of Lovie Smith, said you're happy for him, and left it at that, man. But that makes you look suspect. I raise the people's eyebrow to that. The NFL has insisted the lawsuit is without merit, although Goodell said before the Super Bowl that all of the allegations, whether they were based on racism or discrimination or the integrity of our game, all of those to me were very disturbing. 110%. I mean, let's be honest. I believe the majority of Brian's allegations. I believe he was invited to a yacht. I believe he was asked to tank games. I believe that Tom Brady was an option. I believe that stuff. I believe Brian Flores did that. A Manhattan federal judge is unlikely to rule on the arbitration issue until late summer at the earliest. David Gottlieb, a lawyer for the coaches, said Wednesday that moving the case to the secrecy of arbitration was in effect stripping our client of their rights. Arbitration is privatizing the judicial branch, Gottlieb said. All we're asking is for an open and fair process. He said lawyers for the coaches will argue that the lawsuit against the league belongs in federal court because any agreements calling for arbitration were signed with the teams rather than the league. In March, Flores' attorney, Douglas Wigner, wrote a letter to Goodell saying arbitration is not transparent and urging him to let the lawsuit stay before a judge. In its papers, the league argued that the discrimination lawsuit's claims were not properly before the Manhattan court because multiple arbitration agreements signed by the coaches require arbitration. The league also defended its record on fighting discrimination, saying diversity, equity. Do they mean equality? Diversity, equity, and inclusion are core NFL values. I'm gonna say they meant equality, not equity, because that's money. And that would make them look good. It cited its implementation nearly 2 decades ago of the Rooney Rule, which now requires teams to interview at least 2 minority candidates for any head coaching opening and at least 1 candidate in person. In its February lawsuit, Flores said the league remained rife with racism and continues to deny black coaches positions for racial reasons, making it difficult for them to become general managers, head coaches, offensive and defensive coordinators, and quarterbacks coaches in particular. His lawsuit sought class action status and unspecified damages. In their papers Tuesday, the league, along with the Giants, the Dolphins, the Broncos, the Texans, the Cardinals, and the Titans, insisted that arbitration agreements will require the coaches to assert their claims individually. The filing came hours before a House committee released a document alleging Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder conducted a shadow investigation to discredit former employees who claimed workplace sexual harassment. The document said private investigators were hired to intimidate witnesses, and an overseas lawsuit was used as a pretext to obtain phone records and emails. Owners are going to be shady. That's what happens when billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars are involved. It is what it is. And I actually saw that kindly. I don't know if anyone saw that, but Roger Goodell straight up lied under oath when it came to El Presidente, David Portnoy. I mean, David Portnoy has like made shirts regarding the man, has like flat out just like, you know, he won a COVID auction to, I believe, have dinner with Goodell and was denied. And Goodell went up in front of the Congress and said, I don't know who he is. And like straight up perjury, like so easy to prove he was lying. Like, and again, Conley, I'm with you. I hope, hey, I don't agree with what Gruden said in any of those emails, but I hope he opens up Pandora's box and it just floods against these owners. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm still a little bit disgusted about Calvin Ridley's suspension. I mean, I think that was unjust and unfair. A whole year and he never used insider trading information or gambling information to bet on teams. He never, bet against his team to lose. Like, I think, and it's clearly obvious what happened. Oh, one of the numbers, one of the players, one of those guys who's just another number to these guys, stepped out of line and potentially messed with their money. And they're all bent out of shape because they got the new gambling deal. But I'm going to tell you this. To me, that was racist. I don't know, man. To me, that was like, well, I mean, we want to talk about, racist coaching practices. Look what the Lions did with Jim Caldwell. That's real racism. You want to talk about racism in coaching? Bam, right there. The way Jim Caldwell was treated by the Detroit Lions, that's all the evidence you need. But Calvin Ridley getting a year all because he messed with their gambling money, and he didn't even really mess with it. He made a few innocent bets. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable, man. These guys continuously show their colors. So Roger Goodell lying under oath, they better come for that ass. Because it's so easy to see. And it's so easy to point out. So, and I'm not a Roger Goodell fan. I think the guy's an absolute tool. Not a fan. Never been a fan. Is what it is. Is what it is. And Calvin Ridley, he got the shit end of the stick. And as far as I'm concerned, you got the raw deal. So, and that's why they have to come down on Deshaun Watson after what they did to Calvin Ridley. Oh boy, they have to come down on this guy. Like if Calvin Ridley got a year for what he did, he didn't do anything criminally. What did he do that was a crime? What did Calvin Ridley do that was a crime? Nothing. And they gave him a year out there while it's just ridiculous. Anyways, guys, I'm going to be back either tomorrow night or Sunday night. All right. So be on the lookout. And we're going to take a look at the Verone McKinley prospect preview, as well as, actually, I'm going to lock it in. You know what? We'll be back Sunday night because I know Friday night everyone wants to do their thing. Saturday, I have some stuff going on. So let's lock it in. I'll be back Sunday night. All right. Sunday night, what we're going to do is a couple things. We're going to open up the show to you guys, and we're going to take a look at a prospect preview of Verone McKinley, as well as we are going to look at the top 5 Dolphin players who are under the most pressure to perform in the 2022 LFL season. Now, I might be back tomorrow with it, but more than likely, let's lock it in for Sunday. Expect me on Sunday. Because it's football day too. Sundays are for football, so let's talk some football, and I can open up to you guys and bring you guys on. Listen, over 340 of you in the room right now. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Come through on Sunday. Let's take a look at some Verone McKinley film. Let's look at the top 5 players under the most pressure to perform, and let's bring you guys up here and talk some football. I love all y'all. I will see all y'all on Friday. Until next time, you already know what time it is. Fins up, baby.